People probably try to tell you to save money all the time. And what is saving money? What does that mean? Does that mean I should just put $50 into a savings account here every month or so, or should I just live under a rock and not spend money on anything and just completely cut myself off from civilization? In this video, I'm going to share with you how to save money and why you should save money. So let's get into it. So, the first question you should really ask yourself is, why should I save money? And for most people, it's you're not really sure, or you don't really have a really great reason as to why you should be saving your money or for what you should be saving your money towards. And this can get kind of complicated, especially when you have a savings account and you're seeing a 1% or less return on the money that you are able to save up. And so, really, why should you save your money and for what? And in this video I'll explain the what aspect later, but I want to get into the why aspect now. And ultimately, saving money is a key habit of wealthy people. This is something that they're doing all the time and they have locked in. They understand what saving money ultimately does for their entire portfolio and what it can do for their future. For a lot of people, the actual process of saving money is not something that was talked about at the dinner table or discussed with close family and relatives. Oftentimes, the habit of saving money is something that gets missed or just isn't as important. A lot of times in society, the way that we value things now is by how much money you can spend or what you can show people, versus something that's maybe a little bit more private and you're not really willing to show people, as such as a bank account with thousands of dollars in it. It's just not as flashy. And so not saving is a habit of poor people. And the reason why I say this is because of mostly the cycle of poverty, which basically proves that poor habits will continue to progress if there's no real change made. As in, if your parents are poor and they teach you poor habits and poor skills, there's a good chance that you're going to develop poor habits and skills as well. Whereas in this video, I ultimately want to share with you that awareness is how you break this cycle, is how you can start building yourself up, building your financial wealth, and what the future for you can look like financially if you have this key habit of saving money. So, the truth is that most people struggle with their ability to save money because they don't really deem it important or necessary. And for instance, as someone keeps progressing throughout their career, they make more money, right? And so the problem here, though, is that they never understood their own spending behaviors and their own saving behaviors. And so you'll see as they make more money, their spending and lifestyle has also increased. For instance, if somebody's making $50,000 a year and they spend $40,000 a year, say they can save $10,000 in a year, and then in the next year they make $60,000 and now they're spending $50,000. They're still saving the same amount, and oftentimes they're saving even less because they're like, oh, I'm making all this money now, everything's going to be okay. And so people value expensive items that they can show others versus, as I talked about earlier, showing someone your bank account. Not that people really show others their bank accounts, but it would be kind of cool if that was something. But as far as having bad habits, this impacts your ability to save more money as you're making more money, and this affects you later on down the road. And so a positive habit would normally be that, hey, I've saved $20,000 this year instead of the $10,000, and guess what I'm doing with it? I'm investing. But that's a positive habit. And so if you don't have these positive habits, it can be hard to relate with others that do. Start putting yourself around positive people, positive impacts that really kind of allow you to be better as a person and also helps you financially in your bank accounts. You know what's not a poor choice? Liking and subscribing this video. Invest in your financial future by investing in that subscribe button, baby. So, enough on why you should save your money. Let's get into how you can start saving your money. So, first things first, what you're going to want to do is break down your personal finances on a monthly basis. Next, what you're going to want to do is you're going to open up Excel, and you can do this on your computer, on your phone, Google Drive. Personally, I recommend Google Drive because you can access that information anywhere. You can always stay up to date on where you're at, what your personal situation is going on, and you can always keep it top of mind. Secondly, you're going to want to make two separate categories, and this is going to include income and expenses. And so let's start off with income. So in your income, you're going to want to include your income streams, whether it's just one from a salary job or a W-2, an hourly wage job that you have. If you have various streams, you might want to consider adding all of those. And if some of them are variable or if all of them are variable, what you'll want to do is take an average of the last 3 months. And if you want to be more conservative, take the average of the last 6 months and include that underneath the category of income, and make sure that you're doing this on a monthly basis. Congratulations, you now know how much money you make every month. Now comes the hard part, listing out all of your expenses on a monthly basis. And the reason that this is more difficult is because some of them can kind of get away from you. Like, for instance, I sometimes forget how many subscriptions I have and I need to get rid of, and I probably should even be doing that right now. But I want to help you and add value to you, and I'll worry about myself later. So expenses that you're going to want to think about are going to include rent and mortgage, any utilities, that means electric, trash, sewer. You're going to want to worry about maybe you have tuition expense, maybe you have a car payment that you need. This is just naming a few, and then you start having other expenses like the subscriptions that I was talking about, where all of a sudden you have Hulu, Netflix, HBO Max. You have what really whatever it might be. You need to make sure that you're including these expenses on your list. You need to understand entirely where your money is going. And so after you've done that, congratulations, you understand your expenses on a monthly basis. After you've created your list for your income and expenses, what I want you to do is create a total for each of these categories. What we're going to look into next is your gross profit. And your gross profit is your income minus your expenses. And what this information means is basically what could we possibly be saving after all of our expenses come out of what we've made for the month. How do you feel about the amount that you calculated of gross profit? Is it in the green, meaning that it's positive and that your income is actually higher than your expenses? Or is it in the red and your expenses are higher than your income? And if it's in the red, I highly suggest that you go back and look at your expenses. See what's necessary, see what's not. Cut out the fat. Make sure that you're understanding exactly what you're spending your money on and where your money could be going and how much you could potentially be saving or that you're missing out on. And hint, hint, look in the subscriptions. So that's a really easy way to start looking and trying to help yourself get more into the green where your money is more than your expenses, because oftentimes it can be a little bit more difficult to just make more income, whereas it can be a lot easier to look at the expenses category and start cutting away what you don't need. Now, if you are in the green, then congratulations, you can start saving. Although I still suggest that you go back to your expenses and see if there's anything you can cut out and get rid of. Now that you have your positive gross profit amount, how much of it do you realistically see yourself saving every month? And I ask this question mostly because there's always some variable expenses. You've listed out your subscriptions and your utilities, but what about that ice cream that you decided to go get, or your favorite channel's merch? I don't have merch yet. There will be, but ultimately you want to decide what is going to happen with the money that you are saving and how much of what you have left over after your income and expenses that you know you can put away. Now, I'm not sponsored by NerdWallet, but they put a pretty great list together every year of the top savings accounts by interest rate. So I'll link it down below, but you should really look into these accounts, make the decision for yourself, and understand what a savings account could best work for you in the strategies that we're going to talk about next. All right, the time has come. We now have your realistic savings amount that you're going to put away. We now understand the bank account that you are going to use. Let's get into it. What you're going to want to do, and how a lot of great savers save, is using the method of setting and forgetting. What this means is that you're going to set up a reoccurring payment to yourself. Yes, that is correct. A payment to yourself. But really, it's to your future self. And you're going to give this payment to your savings account from your checkings account where you get paid. And you're going to want to make sure that every time you get paid lines up with every time you pay your savings account, or you're transferring money from your checkings account to your savings account. And ultimately, the setting part is the setting up the transfer or the reoccurring payment, and the forgetting is that you're going to need to be under the understanding that you are not going to touch this money, because this is the future of where your financial goals are really going to be. And you need to allow yourself to just leave it alone. Plan not to spend or use this money at all unless it's going towards an investment that you've thought long and hard about. And I'll be creating videos on the what aspect of what you can be spending your savings money on that is going to bring you money back. But something you should really consider is it an asset or a liability? Is it something I have to pay into, or is it something that really pays me? And so those are things you should start thinking about as you have this setting and forgetting strategy. And so over time, you'll be so consistent with this strategy that the amount of money that you're able to save is going to go up exponentially, and it's going to allow you a lot more financial opportunities going into the future. That's it for today. Let me know your thoughts on saving. Is there anything I missed? Is there anything I should go further on or expand upon? You let me know. But until next time, peace.